Okay. Testing. 1, 2, 3. Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, good night, whenever it is you tune in. Hope all is going well. Back. Man, y'all ain't seen me since the draft. Oh man, I didn't mean to fall off the face of the earth like that. I just had a lot of stuff going on. Uh, I got like real sick, and then I got real hurt. So I just got real busy in between all these other moments where I wasn't sick or hurt. And then on the other times in which I could have, where I wasn't hurt, wasn't sick, wasn't busy, try to set up another stream and just no internet, just like whatsoever. So I'm like, running out of time for this. But we are here. We are back. We will have more people with us as we will have more viewers watching us too. So glad to see you guys again, such as King Trey Way. Welcome back. Gemini Man, welcome back. Anybody else that's tuning in? Let me see you. Where you from? How you doing? Carlos. Only 5 picks of trailing. Okay. That's that's improvement. I guess so. D Coleman. Long time no see. Brian Peoples. B Peeps, as we say. Great to see you too. Ooh, like I said, we're gonna see everyone else joining along. You might be wondering why am I wearing a Falcons beanie, but also an Arkansas shirt. That is college football stuff. All right, we will get to that if y'all want to get to that. We got D Sloan joining in. Great to have you. Ooh, we are just chilling. Uh, we have all the conversations that I wanted to get to after the draft. Uh, I haven't been like completely like absent, but for those of you that are only able to see me in this way, then yeah, I can. I was gone for a couple months. I apologize in advance. Once the season kicks off, you best believe I'm trying to make this a weekly show again. Uh, so man, just we're just relishing in this moment right now because I cannot believe what we've done and what we've accomplished just as a team, as a community. I'm sure you guys have had some accomplishments. Uh, Auntie Pam, you've definitely had some accomplishments. So, whew, anything else we want to say before we kick the show off? Because you know me, I got time. Last time you saw me host a show, it was 8 hours long. All right, I am prepared. We are in this for the long haul. We are gonna go till we can't go no more. All right. If you with me for that, then you let me know now. Because until then, we got some things to discuss, such as our off-season highlights. How would you guys like to kick this one off? One thing we want to start off with, right? Because we're going from like March. Technically, we can go back to January if we want to talk about coaches and stuff and brag about them for a little bit. But like we're gonna go from everything from up until like last week, and even then, there's just amazing things to talk about all around. So, where should we start? Do we want to go offense? Do we want to go defense? Do we want to go the new special teams? I'm free to roam about this conversation. Till then, anybody else we have in here doing some more roll call? Great to see you. Great to hop in. Great to chat. Great to tune in. Like I said, even if you're not here live, just great to see. Great to Great. Nice to get to join us. I would like to start off by talking about the quarterback discussion because that was like the one thing that we were all in confusion about since we last talked, and we've done a lot of thinking about it, and it is such a blessing now because we've seen we finally got to see Michael Penix for ourselves. And yeah, you might say, well, yeah, 9 for 16 and like 100 something yards, no touchdowns, no picks. That's not like the most impressive thing considering you've had guys like JJ McCarthy, the only game that he was able to play this season, which is really unfortunate for him. Uh, he looked great. Like, oh, Nix in Denver has been looking pretty good. Like you got some other nice pieces there. Like Caleb is looking fine. Uh, Drake May and Joe Milton, there's going to be some questions there of like who they're willing to start. Jaden Daniels is not someone to be ignored. So it's like, yeah, you got everyone else there. Uh, but man, Michael Penix, we know that he's going to need some work, right? Like I'm pretty sure we can all agree there. Like he's going to need some time to rest. One thing I did see is how smooth and how slowly he was taking the preseason, which has its benefits, but it also has its downsides. Uh, like there's a couple plays where he needed to get the ball out a little bit quicker, and he was just kind of taking his time, just kind of going through the motions. I'm like, he didn't really get punished for it, but there is a lesson to be learned about making sure that you're turned around after a play action, making that you can get there in time because we know that you have the arm power. We know that you have the talent to throw the ball, but we want to see it done in timing, or we want to see it done, correctly for us. We just don't want to always have to have you show off because that's not the kind of offense we want to function anymore. All right, great to see you. Long time no see. I threw out the invite to plenty more people. Like I said, we're going to have some more joining us later on tonight. But yeah, we haven't seen anything from Kirk Cousins as far as like the actual preseason games yet. But the things that we've seen in the camp and the practices, those highlights, like those passes to Mooney, those passes to Drake, those passes to Pitts, those passes to Cloud, like guys, we got something. We got something to be proud of again. That quarterback spot. I don't really see anybody complaining anymore. I don't even see anybody really mad at the pick anymore. You might have a few people that are like, they're still stuck in like 20 years ago as far as like their thought process and building a team, but it is so refreshing to have like not even just like okay quarterback play, but like really good from the ones and the twos. Because it, like we said in practice, like Kirk was like had one incompletion, I believe. Penix had like 2 incompletions last time we've heard from them, from their stats. It's just so refreshing to see that we can complete passes again. And we can actually have receivers get their stats that we want for our fantasy teams, right? And speaking of which, like Kyle Pitts, we fully yay or nay on him now. I think we're gonna finally see him established as a top threat amongst the tight end position. So it's great to see him. The other unsung heroes that you're not going to have a whole lot of a discussion about, but we saw John Fitzpatrick in the Jaguars game, like hurdle a man. All right, dude, 6'7", 250 and can hurdle. Love to have that. Charlie Warner, just as a nice blocking tight end. Him and Ross Dwelly, wonderful additions because they love the role that they're in. They understand what their role is, and they're just great guys to have inside the locker room from what we've heard from Raheem. And speaking of Raheem, man, Did you guys? I think it was a Pivot podcast from a couple weeks ago. Yeah, like the crew of like Channing Crowder, Ryan Clark, Fred Taylor. They're also there, like interviewing him. Uh, I want to say like Steve Smith was there, but he wasn't part of the interview process. Ooh. But yeah, that was so fun to hear that conversation. And special guest Terry Fontenot, because of course my man Terry, stays in the kitchen, just constantly cooking. Because golly, I want to have like a somewhat of a controlled, discussion because I can constantly go off of tangents. Let's just stick back to the offense. Uh, our ground game, like not just from the running back perspective, because we've seen some things that we like from Carlos Washington. We've seen some things that we like from Jace McClellan. I think Carlos might beat him out, but that's not to say that they can't be both on the field. We're gonna get to our 53-man predictions a little bit later too. I got the depth chart right here beside me. Good to see you, Bernard. This Raider might get cut. I don't know who they'd have behind Kyler Murray if that's the case, but the fact that we couldn't, keep Rondale Moore for us long term in the receiver room, it's such a shame because I think that he would have loved the idea of the kickoff rule. He's such a playmaker. If we get the ball in his hands and keep him bubble wrapped or whatever. Oh, yeah. It was good. It was a good conversation. I listened to it yesterday, traveling and on my delivery route. So, yeah, great to hear from all those guys, right? And just the philosophy, the mindset, right? Because if we can sum up everything that they said in about like 57 minutes, I think the conversation was. Oh, they had like a few minutes of intro, but yeah, like 40-plus-minute conversation. If we had to sum it up in 3 words, it'd probably be put people first, right? And that is not only the route that we're taking on the field. I think that's the route that so many of our players are taking off the fields. I think that's a lot. I think that's something that a lot of our community, just as a fan base, just like person to person, right? So I don't know when I was cut out right there, but I think I was cut out because my wow, the laptop kind of refreshed itself. But yeah, I'd love to see that. Those words, the ambitions, the talent that we have come to fruition finally. Get ourselves back in the playoffs after 7 years because we ain't just visiting no more. We ain't just like dipping our toes in the water in the playoffs. We are here to like take this thing. What a better venue to take it. So can't wait to see all those guys. Touched on the ground game a little bit. How about the wide receivers? Right? Because after Drake London, a lot of people would consider this position room a question mark, uh, even though like they're not closely paying attention as good as we are, because they would love to see all the stuff that Darnell Mooney's been doing in camp. They would love to see all the stuff that Raven McLeod was doing, and even the stuff that while he wasn't here for a long time, but just Ronell Moore, his presence, his mind in the locker room, just the ability to be shifty. So like that's useful. We had Casey Washington, make a couple of plays. Chris Blair with a nice comeback over the after the fumble that he had back in the Miami game. Just good things all around. I'm sure I'm forgetting some other names. Let me check the depth chart for wide receiver, bro. Got some got a presence from Josh Ali. I heard Dylan Drummond's name yesterday. Didn't see much of Hodge as a receiver, but more on like the special teams route. I think that's where his mainstay is. Speaking of special teams, I love going off the tangents and talking about this team, man. It's been so long. I'm sorry. D'Angelo Malone as a gunner. Whew. I just can't. Like, I can't not have him on the team after seeing that, after seeing the hustle. So, I'm with you on that, right? Because we need to have that outside threat, and Casey's going to be that. Pitts is going to be that. As far as the, just like, hey, just go down the field and get it, right? Mooney's going to be that too. And Errol Hodge is secretly like 6'2", so even if we're like depleted completely, he can make something happen. He's made something happen in the past couple of years before, and just didn't get like enough recognition for it. But yeah, he's back. 6-man K Styles is back. He's here. He's here with us. I'm back. Whew. Back like I left a couple months ago. Because, yeah, that's exactly what happened. We're going to have Trey back. I think he's halfway done. I don't know. He's at work right now, but he's going to make it. We got Ripcliffe coming along. And heard from him in a minute. But we got some people on the way. And I continue this conversation. It ain't just going to be me, folks. Even if it is me. I was doing some digging around. Y'all want some music to kind of play in the background? That way you're just not listening to silence if I'm not talking. Because, of course, I'm in Knight Rider. Put this up with some tunes. Let me know if that's too quiet or if that's just right. Kind of have a little bit of a build up. I wish I don't have like the freaking like 2018 Goldberg schedule no more, man. I want to have the classic WCW Goldberg run, man. That's what I want. I don't want to have to just barely show up like 2 times out of the year. Oh, right. Georgia Tech. I didn't see the game, but getting the upset over Florida State like that. I think you were at Florida State too, right? Saw you on a wager, if I'm not mistaken. That's what a way to start off college football, right? Speaking of which, I'm just casually repping this. I'm not like a long-term fan or whatever. This is just my dynasty team. All right. Because, yeah, Ripcliffe set that one up. He's got our own Discord in it. If any of y'all want to try to fill in some spots, because we want to try to get some people to consistently be here for us for the user games. Sometimes we might get some revolving doors of people controlling certain teams. So we're just sticking to the SEC for right now. We don't know how far we'll go with it. We're only like a couple games in. Just kind of scheduling everything out with everybody. It'll be a little bit tough. We're kind of going off like a 3-day grace period. So yeah, everyone, go ahead and show some love to Georgia Tech. We don't know how often they'll get it. But not to say you guys are going to be a bad team. Just, you want to appreciate all the wins you have, right? So, speaking of wins, We didn't get any in the preseason, and I don't think that anybody cares, which is that's good because we're not trying to win the preseason. We're not trying to focus on getting wins to our name right now. We got to get wins in the regular season where everything counts, right? We're starters on starters, or as they say, it don't matter who's the starter anymore. It's just hey, whoever you can throw out there. All the roles that you can play. Any opportunity you can get in order to stay on the team. So, gotta appreciate that. And also about wins, I would just chop up Matt Judon and Justin Simmons coming in here as 2 out of the 3 playoff wins or preseason wins. I'll happily take that. I'll happily go 0-3 again for the next couple of preseasons if it means that we're going to do this. Right? I understand that we had that happen because Marco Helms is going to be around for a while because of the ankle injury. We're not going to have really Trice this season, it seems, which is really unfortunate because I was really excited about him. But then again, if that means we got to do that, Mr. Body built by Taco Bell, I ain't complaining. Doesn't seem like he's complaining either about the contract situation too, because I love the mentality that he's got about still having to earn it while being in your 30s. That's a hungry attitude to have, and he knows the kind of team that he wanted to be on for about. He wanted to be about you, right? About our culture that we set up, about everything that we can provide him, and that he can provide us in return. Because they were talking about it on the first take of it, and Nick was saying about the Patriots were having to decide between Atlanta's 3rd round pick and Chicago's 3rd round pick, and because we basically sent them the same deal, and we were well he took Atlanta's, they took Atlanta's pick, so they're trying to project that Atlanta would be worse, and then someone asked them, it's what if Judon had a choice and wanted to go here instead, and he didn't say anything after that. So I just am so glad that when it comes down to other teams, kind of swaying the position, that we're the ones that are finally getting chosen, because of all the last couple of years we had guys like Robert Quinn a while back flipped a coin between whether or not he wanted to go to Atlanta or go to Chicago, and then landed on Chicago's way, so that's why he signed over there. And we had the same situation, I believe, the ice off season with Montez Sweat. It's it was down between us and Chicago, and then he chose Chicago. Please just choose us for once, man. That's good to see. And let's take a look at this. Yeah, this is his contract season, and normally people want to step up and be their best when it comes to contract season. That's kind of what happened with Justin Simmons. It's not like he, stepped down or anything in talent. Because we're looking at the players' respect for him. They had him rated higher than Jesse Bates in the top 100, right? It's not like he's a nobody anymore. It's not like he lost anything in his play or in his talent. So, I'm happy to have him. I was just talking about the Broncos fan earlier today. And I was like, hey, thanks for Justin Simmons, by the way. So, I'm just glad we can have conversations with other people around the league and not get immediately get some dirty looks. So, always appreciate getting good players like this. But those position groups, right? Those guys still have depth, right? We look at the pass rushers. Let me show you guys what we're looking at. Look at the defense. I'm gonna keep sirens. That's because they have really good. here. So, take a look at our D-line real quick. In the starting rotation right now, we have Brady Jarrett, we have David Onyemata, we have Zach Harrison right now, which is proud of him for doing that after his rookie season. Outside linebackers, you got Lorenzo Carter, and then we have Arnold McKay. I don't think this will stick like this. I think at some point Carter is going to take the place of Judon, or they can kind of go like one or the other. I know that Judon said he will play week 1 and that he wants to get like 70-something snaps or whatever. I don't think we're going to be on defense like 70 plays. But he wants to get like 90% of the snaps week 1. And same goes for Justin Simmons. Like, this is not going to stay. This is not going to stay this way. I'm sorry, Rich. But you still have a purpose. We're just trying to stall until we find an answer for that. You guys can see that better. Full screen right here for you. But yeah, Abernathy, he was doing okay. I saw him in a couple of plays in all 3 of our games. Trey Tarpley, been liking him quite a bit. Lucas Dennis, he made his name known. I think Cruikshank was injured, so I didn't get to see a lot of him. Obviously, Helens wasn't going to be able to play. There's one name that is standing out of the list that you can see here real quick in this back half, and that is our boy, Mr. Small Man Syndrome himself, Big Drum Brooks. What do we think about this guy? Because I'm beginning to really like him. So, another person I've been really proud of is Kevin King. He's been a pleasant surprise to watch in the secondary. Kind of having that, I wouldn't say like star position, but he's definitely going to be like a dime linebacker or something. Or kind of that like hybrid safety corner linebacker-ish person. I didn't think he'd be able to handle this role, but especially after like not seeing him for 2 years, but he is definitely holding his own. And not just like coverage, but the runs as well. So he's been a sneaky good addition. I like his chemistry with Jimmy. Like, he knows what he's able to do. He knows what he can do. Speaking of someone else, Antonio Hamilton. I didn't talk about him like at all when we signed him, and that's because I didn't really have any expectations. Like I knew that he was starting in Arizona for a while, but he's been in the league for a while, and like I haven't heard a bunch of noise about him. But I'm glad that he's provided depth for us at the nickel slot. Because obviously Diop going to take that. But yeah, if anything happens to this guy, we are still fine. Like Mike Hughes, for example, he's still listed as a starter. I was not expecting that. I thought it would be Clark Phillips right now. I'm not even complaining about it though, because been seeing some good things out of him. And Trey Duvall, he's been okay. I saw him in return, but since we're going to be talking about a Trey, let's bring one up with us.
Yo. Like, you hear me?
Ooh, yeah. You're a bit quiet, but that just might be on my side.
Yeah. I think I was hoping these headphones would actually be worth something. What's going on, y'all? Nice little Saturday on you.
Yeah, it's pleasure to have you. We're going to have Redcliffe joining us a little bit later, too. I invited some other folks as well. Just trying to get, as many people in this conversation as possible. Becoming whoever ends up CB2 has potential to get 4 or 5 picks because the ball's clearly coming their way. Better get someone with ball skills, right? Gotta have someone like that. Clark Phillips, he, from what we've seen from him against Drake London, he definitely has ball skills.
Oh yeah, most definitely. I'm like, he might be the best ball hawking corner we have. Not gonna lie, I love AJ, but AJ is more like a true lockdown. Clark's one of those, just like go get it wherever the ball goes. I go inside the corner.
Yeah, it was actually kind of coming down between him and, from what I heard, Mike Hughes practice too.
Yeah. I never seen what they saw in Mike Hughes, but it looks like they still got him starting from what I last heard.
Well, everyone develops in their own way. If he's taking a spot as a starter on our team for the expectations that we're about to have, then he better step up to the plate because he ain't sitting comfortably at that CB2 spot. So
even Antonio Helms can come in there and try to get some reps too. I heard they'd like him out too. So
just talking about him,
underrated piece.
So people want to try to talk crap about the secondary that we have, like outside of the big three, if you will. Like guys, there's names to be found here, and
I don't understand why people wonder.
I am so looking forward to like seeing everyone get upset at how good our secondary is.
Definitely. Seems like people forgot about D. Alford too. Like they just kind of wrote him off. And like, okay, it's cool. Let them underestimate. I mean, they've been doing it for a while anyway.
Hey, you know what? Like, not everyone wants to be smart, you know? Like, not everyone wants to be smart. So, if they want to go ahead and be ignorant and doubt us like this, it's not like I'm going to say much to stop them.
We'll let them find out what we're going to do. They ain't going to talk a big game, so I'll let them find out themselves.
Yeah, I can't wait. Can't wait to see this D line too. Good God. The depth we have now. I mean, obviously we know who we have in Grady Jarrett, but Kentavious Street, who was just kind of a fill-in signing for us last year, and then ends up having to play significant time and ends up looking really good in there, and now is able to kind of find his new role here. It's just kind of a wall for not only him, but guys, we might actually see Eddie Goldman.
Oh yeah. I'm surprised he didn't retire again, man. It's kind of weird seeing him in a uniform for the first time. He dressed up for pregame. I was like, okay.
Not even uniform, but to hear is some good things said about him.
Yeah. Like him actually being a depth piece, him getting, in the rotation, constant play something. I'm like, okay. We can give us about 2 or 3 sacks this year. Be a good run support guy. I mean, I ain't got too much to complain about at all. That's really all we need him for, to be honest. Just the rundowns and come in there once TQ, Brady, Brandon. Some of those guys need a little break.
Even if we don't get to keep Tommy Togi, I did see him in the game yesterday. He had a nice stop against their Jacksonville's ones. Siron Loeb is looking pretty good too.
Pretty good. Yeah. Big run stuffer. filling up gaps. He kind of made JD Bertrand look pretty good. It was a lot of times he took up blocks to make JD look pretty good these last 3 weeks. So
Yeah, anytime
I'm
you're a
excited to
rookie
see him.
and
He'll,
only need like 2 games to your belt
I
in the
think it's like,
preseason to determine how good you are, that's fine by me.
yeah,
Did you guys see the hit that Donovan Newton had?
really, really excited about the
Third and
defense
one.
though. But I didn't even get to watch the game yesterday because I had a game yesterday, so I didn't
Oh
even
yeah,
watch
that's
the
right.
game. I heard about it though.
Because I was watching the game, I was like kind of listening into it about like the other half of it. This man, it was a third and one, like in our red zone, and my phone froze because of course it did. And when I was looking at where the play was at the time that my phone froze, I was like, ah, crap, they just got the first down. And then out of nowhere, Donovan comes in and it's just like, no, you ain't moving forward no more. It just cracks the running back.
What you think do you think he makes the practice squad at least? He's it's like very slight that he makes the active, but do you think he
He
makes the practice squad?
So there's only about like 15, 16 kind of slots in the practice squad.
16 now.
Yeah, I see they mic'd him up against Baltimore. Like that kind of lets me think that they trust him, you know.
Yeah,
So it's like they're not just gonna pull something like that, just give him to anybody, and then like easily let him go.
yeah.
So he's
Like
doing
Carlos,
something.
I said the same thing about Carlos Washington. Washington when they mic him up, I was like, yeah, someone's got to be up with that. Like, I don't think they would, mic him up and then just, you know, okay, bye now. At least practice squad or something like that, running back 3.
Yeah, it's gonna be tough to try to have like 5 inside linebackers. You know, when we're thinking about like the depth that we can have everywhere else. But now that we're getting into our depth conversation, thought I was about to introduce Ripcliffe, but something happened to his device. We're gonna hear from him in a moment. But yeah, the other person I was liking was James Smith Williams. Apparently, they had in practices with like him on one side, we had Carter on the other side, and then it was Goldman, Street, and Onyemata. That was kind of like the front 5 on the D line, and was just kind of wrecking stuff. So I'm glad that they're able to give like everyone possibilities. I even heard Bradley and I think he had a sack. Who else was there? He was. Yeah, I think he was like 47, and someone he looked like a punter as far as like his size, which was really surprising because he is. He's a bigger dude than the TV that's on. Let's see, who else can we talk about real quick? Anybody else you want to talk about on offense? We're seeing some Spencer Brown runs. We seen anything from Jordan Thomas, the tight end we signed out of the UFL? He's been in the league before, but Bold words, Wallace. Sam Malone's going to get cut. I like him too much for special teams, and we gotta, especially with the way that the kickoffs are positioned, and how important it is to have like good field position for punting. I think we gotta keep him because it's going to be those guys that can make or break a special, like a kickoff return or a punt return, if we're not careful. And for how good we're going to try to be on offense and defense, like we want to make sure that is equally up to par. So I don't want to just say that he's gone right away. What's going on, Maggie? Miss Meg. Long time no see.
Well, I'm back. Jesus Christ, I hate work.
I just had an 8-hour shift earlier today myself. So
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. I'm so really starting to save, forget the money, and let's just enjoy being a teenager. But I can't enjoy being a teenager with no money. So gotta choose something. Gotta choose something.
All right, so we're trying to think of a proposal here. If we're going to keep 8D line, then there's got to be someone else that would have to let
I
go.
was thinking 7.
Okay, have you figured out your 7?
I was thinking 7 because we still gotta.
If you're thinking that small of a number,
one of the position groups. Yeah. I mean, 4 and 3 don't sound too bad, But then again, you got. I think about 5 people aren't going to be activated for week 2. So.
yeah. So now that we're getting into like kind of seeing how we can chop off the roster a little bit to finalize a 53. Real quick.
Hey, can you hear me?
We absolutely can.
All right. Sorry, I was having some mic issues, I guess, on my Yeti mic. The cord is broke or something. So, that's great. But I'm here.
Sound fine for right now. That's all we need.
Yeah, so. I don't know how well the mic quality is going to be on this because I know my phone mic can be kind of it's hit or miss. But
welcome to the club.
yeah.
So we're just talking about some preseason standouts. Anybody that you want to talk about before we start talking about the
well, I'm sure you guys talked about Natron Brooks, but
oh yeah,
that would be my number one standout. Mostly, as far as when it comes to, well, Blair was also a guy that I kind of noticed. Not really the last preseason game, but the other two, noticed him pretty well. I don't know if he'll be making the roster or not, but probably. I mean, I don't know how our wide receiver room is going to look. I assume Casey Washington's got a spot on the team, but
yeah, everyone seems to trust him. Like Penix has a good connection with him. Heineke was trying to find him sometimes.
Yeah, well, Heineke was trying to find a lot of people that he couldn't. So he needs to be a cut. he needs to be a cut. Like, I don't know why we would keep. I understand like wanting to have a veteran whenever you got Penix, but sorry, that Trey's mic.
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, yeah, but like Heineke, like he's been a huge disappointment. Like I would imagine somebody of his vet status and a former starter to be better than what we saw against, any team. Like, he didn't look good in any of the games, really.
And it's like we sat out two quarterbacks in front of him in order to give him this chance. And, we have wide receivers to evaluate. We have tight ends to evaluate. We have, offensive linemen to evaluate. And if he's not going to be helping them out as much as we want, then something's got to be it.
Because there's no way that I would put him in over Penix under any circumstance. I'm not saying that Penix is going to be great or perfect or anything, but Heineke is terrible. Legitimately terrible. And I can at least live with Penix making mistakes. I can't live with a 8-year vet, former starter, was he $5-6 million cap hit to come in and do that.
8.
Yeah.
That's Justin Simmons money right now. I mean, that is the same level financially.
We could go sign another vet that could actually contribute to this team, because I don't think he's even if he played a game, I don't think he's contributing to the team. He's that bad. We would have addition by subtraction with him off the roster.
Just like the other quarterback we had.
Yeah,
talking about veterans that could also use that money. How is the conversations with Hassan Reddick going?
Yeah,
much non-existent.
Yeah, because if you had an extra $8 million, along with what you freed up with the AJ Terrell extension, maybe that's a possibility. I don't know if I'd want that, but definitely would want it more than Heineke's ass being on the team. I can tell you that much. But and you're getting to the point too where there's going to be some veterans that people don't expect to come on the market because some vets are going to get cut that maybe not expected to get cut. This is kind of the season for that. So
it's not just us that has to think about making cuts and making sacrifices in order to fit other people on here. Everyone else has to do this too. So if there is any other kind of unsung hero of a team that they just have to let go because they either have too much of that position or they just go off.
We could get some O-line depth too. I think our O-line depth is okay, but I wouldn't mind having another tackle or something to
so
compliment.
I think as far as I know, we're only supposed to have 7 active in any game. Does that sound right?
Yeah, sounds about right, yeah.
So, we know what we have in Storm. We like Newsel. I've been liking Hinton, too.
Yeah, Hinton's been good. Of course, McGarry and, all the other starters are going to be penciled in there. Gwen could probably use another year on the practice squad, but
so, and then any name after Jake Matthews is just a foreign language to me.
yeah, I hadn't seen anything from the other tackles outside of the ones that we already know and Hinton.
But I think moving forward long term, I am more pleased that we have someone potentially that could fill in that right tackle spot to kind of cover Penix's blind side.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, that's going to be an interesting thing whenever Penix does take over, because do you trust McGarry to protect a blind side of a quarterback? It's one thing because pass blocking ain't his, especially a pass blocking a speed rusher. He can't deal with speed off the edge very well.
Yeah, Brian Burns kept telling us that.
Yeah. But so
Okay.
I fully expect a tackle to be like in the next 2 years be like a high priority for us. Because you got Jake Matthews coming up in his age, and then you got McGarry, who he's a serviceable tackle, but you can kind of take him or leave him, kind of thing. So.
Let's see. Anybody else you want to highlight?
Our defensive line as a whole, Rook kind of surprised me in that Ravens game. I know he only had like the one sack, but I was really hard on that pick. Still not sold on it, but he looked good in that game.
I think what's important to remember is like every pick, especially after Penix, was like more and more scrutinized for like who we weren't getting. And
Yeah.
I think now we're reaching a point where we can be, content with the people that we did get.
Right.
Sure, it's not
Yeah,
like a list, or it's not like the best like class out there, but if any of these guys can provide, serviceable start time,
Mm-hmm.
that's
Yeah.
So
And Rook has raw tools, but my issue with Rook is he had no seemingly no development through his years with Clemson. Albeit, doesn't seem like Clemson's that great at developing D-line talent. Grady Jarrett being the exception, but I don't think that Clemson had anything really to do with that so much. But you look at the defensive line talent they've put into the league and the success rate that they've had, it's very low. You got Vic Beasley, Kevin Dodd, Dexter Lawrence, he's good, but
Wilkins too.
the what?
Christian Wilkins.
Christian Wilkins, okay. But did those guys get developed, or were they just good already? Because then you got who's the guy that went to the Bengals last year? Shoot.
Oh, in the last draft.
Yeah, the big edge they had that everyone was high on that honestly wasn't that good.
Yeah, 3:30. We're back.
Yeah.
Like I said, you haven't seen me on a stream since the freaking draft.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. So, but did Trey drop out?
he is still at work right now, so.
Oh, gotcha.
Like
Yeah.
his inclusiveness.
Gotcha. Yeah. So, yeah. Not to belabor the point, but Clemson doesn't necessarily have the best track record. But with that said, like, I just kind of worried about it because I really, Rook was all like measurables, like he was measurables guy. And my problem with that is like, yeah, there's plenty of really good athletes in the world. Not as many good football players. Like, there's a difference between a good athlete and a good football player,
Right.
So, but if they can develop him, which if any staff can, I kind of trust this one to do it. Because they did produce some talent in LA. You have what was it, Kobe Turner? Was it Kobe Turner or what was his name? Wake Forest. I'm blanking on names, but yeah, I think it's Kobe Turner. And then you had
Was it Byron Jones?
Byron Young. I think he's the Tennessee guy. Yeah, the Tennessee Byron Young, not the Alabama Byron Young that went to the Raiders. But I mean, they were, and Byron Young was like college good, but I kind of worried about him in the league because but he was very raw. Like, just background on that dude, like he was like bagging groceries. He literally had the Kurt Warner come up, like he was bagging groceries and made it to Tennessee.
I mean, that's actually the similar kind of story to Algier. Like he was just like collecting carts at a Walmart.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting, like some of the stories that these guys have, but yeah, like so I mean, I kind of I'm gonna trust Raheem on that part until he gives me a reason not to. But yeah, I liked what I saw from him. I like Brandon Dorlus. He didn't really. I don't know if you could really say he was like a highlight of the preseason. The thing is with our preseason, like I feel like as a unit, the defense as a whole was a good highlight. Just to highlight them as a general, like that shows good coaching that our 2s and 3s or beyond were like they knew where to be, they were in position. Like that speaks well for your roster as a whole and to your coaching. That's what I always look for when I'm looking at preseason. You know, because you have like people that show out and do what?
I don't know when I cut out there, but I was just gonna say like yeah, like the defense that kind of. Oh yeah, we were saying like there wasn't any super like embarrassing plays that we didn't give up.
Yeah, I mean even
like
against Jacksonville, the 1s and 2s, like even against the 1s and 2s, I felt like our backups were hanging with them pretty well. Like they weren't just like dominating us. Yeah, they scored on us, but they have Trevor Lawrence.
Nothing in the first quarter, right? Like
right. I mean, I've seen some Falcons starting defenses that looked a lot worse. I'll put it that way. Not saying that that's a high bar or anything, but because we've seen some bad ones. But yeah, like I think that speaks to the coaching though. When your 2s, 3s, and guys that may not even make the roster are still in the right position to make plays, and so that's something that I think that's more that you can carry over. Because I mean, you gotta have people that show out, like Natron Brooks. He should be on the roster. Bertrand is obviously on the roster because they didn't even play him. You know, you got guys that you with this roster, you pretty much know who's going to make it. Like, there's a few spots here and there that are maybe up for grabs. But for the most part, you know, it's kind of set in stone. Mouton look good. I don't know if he's going to make the team. That'll be interesting, just because of who we have there, if he'll make the cut. But
yeah,
you know. But I think that's definitely something that you can walk away with. And I felt like our offense, outside of Heineke's bum ass, was efficient. Like, as far as, you know, with the play calls and things like that. Especially when Penix was in. Penix looked good. And I wish I could make him more of a highlight, but I mean, we saw him for two or three series.
I think it was like 5.
Okay. 5 series of, you know, one game. But I mean, that's still that. Did you guys talk about that? Because that was pretty interesting. The fact that we didn't play him.
Just kind of talking about like his mechanics and his timing. Just making sure that he knows the structure of the play and can work well within it, and that he's not like yelling in the pocket Or
Honestly, what that tells me is they don't trust Heineke. They don't trust Heineke at all. Is what that tells me. And they were sitting Penix because they were like, we can't. If Penix gets hurt, we don't have a backup. Like, and Kirk is healthy. Like, because everyone's like, well, maybe Garofalo or whatever, or whoever the hell on NBC Sports or whatever, that dude, the Mike Garofalo or whatever. He was talking like, well, maybe this means that Kirk is, not ready for, won't be ready for week one. And I don't think it's that. I think it's, like I said, think about it. You see, for as bad as we saw Heineke in the preseason games, these coaches see him every day. And you got to think that they're like, man, we're probably going to be carrying two quarterbacks here. Like, realistically.
At least. That's what you need right now.
Yeah. And one is coming off an Achilles tear, and one's a rookie that has had he's been healthy. So I don't buy into he's a walking bandage or whatever. But one hit could knock Penix out, and then who do you have after that? And you're rolling out a 36-year-old quarterback coming off an Achilles tear, and really no backup that you trust behind him. So they were like, yeah, we can give him reps in practice and in controlled scrimmages where he's not getting hit. That's where we'll get the reps. That's what I think that the decision came to. Maybe you have a different view on that, but that's kind of how I view that.
You got to make sure that everybody on the offense is comfortable with where we're at right now, and most quarterback position. And if you can take care of not only like the player but also like the person, because man, I didn't get an invite to the freaking water park.
Yeah.
But I'm glad that they had that trip. They're living by the mantra, or he wouldn't call it mantra, but they're living by the phrase like, hey, just put people first. Right. So that is gonna be not our slogan, but just kind of like our thing to live by, and the phrase to watch out for as we progress through the season. Because
yeah. What I was thinking, like, what people really need to look at, not so much like what we did in the preseason, because like I think week one, after seeing what the Steelers did in this preseason, they've got a new offense. I don't trust either Justin Fields or Russell Wilson at all. We should win that game at home. That should be, even if we come out rusty, we should be better than the Steelers. That's just my take on that. But
see how Arthur Smith was quoted as saying that he wants to drop 40 on us.
Yeah, well, good luck with that.
I don't know if you can get 40 points halfway through the season. Like,
I don't know if we had 40 points in a game his whole tenure here. Like, you'd be hard pressed to find.
It was 37.
Yeah. So I'm okay with that. Like, I'll let him. Yeah, if he does that, more power to him. But anyways, what people really need to focus on, and this is the biggest thing, is look who wants to play for Raheem in this coaching staff. Because I don't remember Arthur Smith really having that pull, like, of being able to bring in a ton of guys that, I mean, Justin Simmons wanting to come here, and Judon wanting to come here. Like, they're not coming to just be on a roster.
Right, especially with with Judon on a contract year. Like, they're all still trying to prove themselves.
Right.
Simmons is technically on a contract year too because it's just a 1-year deal.
Yeah. Yeah. So,
Like,
and
the hunger is still there for them.
right.
And they knew where to go in order to kind of be around equally hungry players.
Right. Yeah. And I think,
Great coaching staff. Like,
yeah, I think the 1-year deal was probably more on Simmons wanting to bet on himself, kind of, and give him some freedom for next season. And also, I think as an organization, like, we probably didn't want to give a guy like Simmons even like a 2 or 3 year deal, because right now, if you look, right now they're planning for the future ahead, but like with vets, it's 1 to 2 years. That every vet is 1 to 2 years that they can get out of that. I think they don't want like a situation. They're trying to desperately avoid a situation like they had with Matt Ryan and Julio, where the cap numbers were just so large and the players were aging. Like, I feel like this organization's gonna, like, this regime is gonna constantly keep vets on very low, manageable contract. Well, maybe not very low, because I wouldn't consider Kirk Cousins' contract low, but it's very manageable. Like, if something happens to Kirk, we're not like screwed, like, so I think moving forward, we just have to look at that, like, with our vet signings and stuff like that. Because I think with Judon, he's going to get a deal done, but it's going to be like a 3-year deal. That's really like a 2-year deal. With a lot of guarantees, like those first 2 years. Because right now, like, we freed. How much do we have the numbers with the AJ Terrell contract? Like, what it freed up for us this year? I haven't looked.
Let me go.
I think you're cutting out a little bit. I think I lost you there, Noah. This is the Duct Tape Podcast. Well, guys, I can't read the chat very much, but looks like Noah has dropped from the stream. He'll probably be back soon.
Oh, my back.
Oh well. I was like, 'cause you were messaging me, but I like,
I'm switching to
I-
my phone. That's what's going on now. Am I sounding any better? Am I sounding any worse?
you sound great. Yeah.
Well, so much for spending all this money on the microphone.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, you need one of those mics that hook into your phone, and you can walk around with it.
I had one. I also had another a wireless one. I guess it'd be the same thing, but yeah, I had a few options a while back, and I gotta find out like what I did to those ones because if I cannot trust my laptop to save me for an hour,
Yeah.
then I have no chance of like continuing for the
What kind
for
of
the rest of the regular season.
who's your ISP?
IDK.
So who do you get your internet through?
Apparently, like some random dude in the woods. I guess I don't know. It's like
Oh.
Xfinity or something. It might as well be the same thing over here.
Gotcha.
Ooh, that's why I got to go with the unlimited data on the phone plan.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, and the mobile hotspots like never work well.
all I was trying to do was take a look at the cap situation for AJ Terrell because we were ending on that, and I was just looking that up, and I just broke everything because I had like 3 sites up after not doing
like,
anything else.
Yeah, it just like completely froze you, and like at first I thought like you were just like sitting there, and then I was like, wait, he's froze, like he's out.
Yeah, I think the next best thing is just kind of continuing. It might be the rest of the freaking season just going off the phone because I can't trust this thing anymore.
Yeah,
After all this time, all the problems that it gave me, but it's like at the same time I use this to constantly set up everything else. Like this, I set up the thumbnail for this stream, and all the other resources that I have are on here too. So like I can't abandon it, but at the same time it won't let me use it.
Right. So they don't. It looks like they don't have like a full breakdown, at least on Spotrac. But it looks like his cap hit for this year is going to be like 12 million. But I don't remember what it was before.
Yeah, I was trying to look up overthecap.com.
Yeah.
Because that would
yeah,
at least provide like a current situation as far as like, the cap space and whatnot.
Actually, his cap is saying on over the cap. It's saying that his cap number for this year will be 8.3. So was it 12 before? Maybe.
That sounds right.
Because that would be like 4 million, which, hey, and like I said, I know of cap space they can free up immediately, and it's called Cut Taylor Heineke. That's what they.
Just sign our petition. It's almost like a negative Kickstarter.
Yeah, like I have absolutely no idea why he's still on the team at this point. I don't.
I think at this point they just needed a body to throw out their quarterback, and they didn't want to put all the pressure on Paddock, who they just signed. Now
I know that he already reduced his salary, so it looks like it wouldn't save as much as it would have before because he already reduced his salary to 4.5, and so his dead cap, according to over the cap, is 3.3, so it'd save about 1.2. But you know what? 1.2 million. I'd rather have that than Taylor Heineke on our team at this point. So, make that happen, please.
Yeah, I mean, Terry loves having some money in his pocket for during the season, just because you never know what's going to happen. Going
You know
over
that's bad though. That Taylor Heineke was like, "Yeah, I want to take a salary cap, a salary cut, because we know that you definitely aren't keeping me at freaking 6 or 8 million or whatever." And then they
It's
were
like
like, they're still like,
you lost us when you said you're keeping me.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Um, so we'll take the salary reduction, but you're still kind of on the chopping block. No, because the thing is, like, it's like he's not even trying out there. Almost.
Yeah, he's one of those people. I don't know if there's anybody else that's in this category as far as like someone that made their case to not be on the team so more and more obvious.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like he doesn't want to,
Which in its own way is kind of a good thing because it's not like a super long list of people that are like have been absolutely failing for us. But that just goes to show that, like, dude, of all the people that were declining, it's you.
Yeah, so get this. The way they have, that's interesting. Like, why is Justin Simmons saying? Why are they saying his cap number is 4.3? How does that work? It's a 1-year deal.
It wasn't like incentivized or anything, was it? Like nothing with the signing bonus or.
Oh, it's got a freaking void year. It looks like. So
I think I did see like weren't there like 2 void years on that? Which
yeah,
is really weird for a 1-year contract.
yeah. There's 2 void years on it. So in 25. But what's weird is like he's also got a. So, is it a 1-year deal with a 2-year option to it? I'm reading over it's confusing the hell out of me.
Yeah, it's
because if you look at his cap number, it shows his cap in 2025 as well at like 3.1. But that doesn't make any sense. Because then it's got more dead cap in 2026.
Man, I wish I could show you guys what we're looking at.
Yeah, I think it's 2 void years. Yeah, I think it's 2 void years is what I think. But it's confusing me. But anyhow, like his cap number is lower than Taylor Heineke's right now for this year. So that goes that goes to show that I've been trying to tell people that freaking cap is a myth almost. I mean, if you get to the point where New Orleans is at, it's not a myth. But I mean, cap is so manipulative. Like, you can manipulate it. So people griping about the money that AJ Terrell got, like, bro, you're not going to let a corner like him walk for, like I said, people that aren't happy with $20 million a year. Would you be happy with $17 million a year? And then ask yourself, am I going to let an all-pro level cornerback leave the building for $3 million annually? And 2, who am I going to get to replace him at $20 million? Like, even if I get multiple people, are you really going to replace his production with that? My answer is probably not. So, and
especially not like an immediate patch to what kind of problem that would cause.
Right. And like, okay, so 2024 it's 8.3, 2025 it's 19 million,
after that, Kirk Cousins is coming off the books. Like, let's just be honest. 2 year that his deal is a 2-year deal. So then you got 2026, 20 mil, 2027, 22, and then it looks like, I guess, because it's a 4-year contract, right? Oh, it's a 4-year extension, so it goes through 2028 because his 2024 was already a contract, so it goes through 2028. Like 2027, 2028, they're going to be extending that contract again, and there's probably going to be some restructures in between there. So,
I mean, yeah, if he stays the same player,
yeah,
because
I think
corners
he'll
are
be better. I think he's going to be better.
I do like the idea of like him getting smarter because he'll have more time with Bates and hopefully Simmons to.
Well, and
to
he
be
just
there behind
doesn't.
him.
He's done. Yeah, he doesn't have to worry about as much.
Yeah, because
'Cause-
now we'll have like a young, hungry defensive rotation.
Yeah, and if we got a defensive line that's halfway competent, because
It'll
like
be even
Terrell,
easier for him to shut down the number one.
yeah, Terrell's really never been the problem, like at all. Like he goes up against the number one all game long, every week. Like you're gonna get beat sometimes when you're doing that. Every corner gets beat. It's just the nature of the business. But I think he's poised to have, and I get the interception thing. I mean, I wish he'd have more interceptions, but if you ask me, would I rather Trevon Diggs, who gets a lot of interceptions, but he also gets burnt consistently.
Yeah,
And
speaking of which, they're without Deron Bland now for like half the season now.
yeah, oh, are they? I didn't see that.
Yeah.
But would I take a corner like Trevon Diggs over AJ Terrell? And the answer is a resounding no. Because what is a corner's number one job?
To prevent the catch.
To prevent the wide receiver from catching the ball. Everything else is icing on the cake. Run support, you need that, definitely. I think that's higher on the list than interceptions. As crazy as some people might think that is. But interceptions, like, for one, interceptions are a team statistic more than an individual statistic. Yes, players get interceptions. I will give you that. But in order to force an interception, the defense needs to be doing everything right most of the time. Unless
And
you
even
have
if it is a situation like a bad throw, like you have to be smart enough to know how to be in position to make the catch
Right.
for it.
And really, how many more
And tip
interceptions
drills
do we need
too.
on this
Like,
Really, how many more ball hawking players do we need on this defense when you have Jesse Bates, Justin Simmons, you're going to have Clark Phillips, like Justin Simmons and Jesse Bates alone are going to get us enough interceptions. Like it's going to blow people's minds, I think, what those two are going to do, because nobody's ever seen that before. The way they're going to be able to play off each other. Like,
except maybe going back to when the Pro Bowl was like seriously played. That's kind of the
yeah.
what we're looking at here.
Yeah, like as because both those guys are like the incredibly smart players at the safety position. Like they diagnose plays before they happen and just put themselves in great position. So it's like, what are those two going to do together when they both are on the same page? They know what the offense is running. They see something. They're communicating with each other. Like where are they? Like the quarterback's never going to know where either one of those guys are.
I feel like
they also won't know like how much they know in return.
yeah, like I mean, I'm real. That's like, of all the things that I'm excited about, that's the one that I'm most excited about seeing, is just how that's going to work. Because
I kind of liken it to, not that they're like the same kind of like problem, but imagine two Luke Kuechly's playing safety. Like that's what we're thinking about.
yeah, it's almost like having Ed Reed and Troy. I'm not saying that Bates and or if anybody's listening to this, you know, I'm not saying that they're at that level, but it would be like having Troy Polamalu and Ed Reed on the same team. Just as far as like how they know the game, how they diagnose, you know. But and I mean, if you look at their interceptions, I mean, they have 50 interceptions between the two of them. 50. That's a lot.
And only what, like 12 years in totality or something like that? No, probably like 16.
Yeah. So he came out. Simmons was in 16, so he's in his ninth? Would that be his 9th year now? And then
around there.
Yeah, but it's weird because like 2016 is counts.
It's like the 16-17 season.
Yeah, like yeah. So it's like it's almost like it's weird. Like whatever year they come in, it's 1 year more than what you think.
So sure, technically, yeah, they would be the 9th then.
Yeah, the 9th year,
and then Bates.
So and then Bates he was in 2018. So 2 years later, so he's going into his 7th? Would that be his 7th year? So you're thinking like 16 years, 50 interceptions across. And, you know, Simmons has had some like season-ending injuries, and I don't know if Bates really has, but
no, he's been fairly healthy throughout his time he's been at Cincinnati.
And Bates is coming into his prime. Like these are his prime years that we got. So,
which I'm like, guys, like if you already have like 20 picks and you are just now approaching your prime, like good God, like I mean we're combining them, and this is like dang near Rod Woodson numbers, like.
yeah, like it's gonna be fun to watch, and it's kind of funny that like. I feel like I don't know if anybody else was talking about Justin Simmons and Jesse Bates together whenever I was, but I like kind of spoke this into existence. I feel like months ago.
Yeah, I mean, you certainly have the receipts to prove it.
Yeah,
because everyone else was like, "Yeah, that's an amazing thought." Well, anyways, back on to.
And I was like, no,
we'll just add that to the list of things we can't do.
Yeah. Like I was like, no, really think about this. Like the way those two could play together, like it made so much sense to me. And like the fact that it actually happened though was like shocking. I'm not saying like I saw this coming, because it was more like a fantasy of mine. I was like, damn, if we could just get him with Bates, like that's a defense right there. And then it happened.
I also love because like we face Kansas City week 3.
Yeah, and he's got Mahomes' number.
Yeah, that's like his arch nemesis.
Yeah, and now. And I'm pretty sure Bates had a pretty good game against him in the AFC Championship game. So now he's got to go up against both of them on the same damn team. Like, if you're giving Patrick Mahomes fits, like, you know.
Okay, if that's the situation, right? Like, if you would just want to let them roam about and, you know, take care of Travis Kelce in any way that you see. Like, now you're looking at like, what does AJ Terrell take away from that offense?
Right now he can take because who's the best receiver on their team?
I know who it would have been, in Rashee Rice.
Yeah,
But is that like still the number one answer?
yeah,
Is
yeah.
like
Maybe.
oh no, it's Hollywood Brown maybe, because I know that he's over there.
Oh yeah, and then they what they
drafted
was it
Xavier Worthy.
They got a Xavier Worthy, right? I was about to say
Well,
Ricky
is
Pearsall,
he going to
but
be
he went
ready
to
right
49ers.
away? Oh yeah, I
Yeah,
remember the blunder that was the draft. Whatever we got the notifications.
yeah. So,
So I'm like, are they ready right away? Because I know that they drafted Sky Moore a couple years ago pretty high, and like he hasn't been the player that they wanted.
they
him
don't
to be.
they don't have like 'cause Xavier Worthy, like he's more of like a slot burner type, like
Sure.
you know.
But I'm
So
I don't know if I would put AJ Terrell on him. That just doesn't seem like that much of a problem to deal with.
yeah,
Because those safeties are so rangy, and especially with how they know that he would be a deep threat, so they're not going to let him just kind of easily beat him.
right.
So
And also the value that they bring to, and I know people are like, well, Richie Grant's going into his fourth year. He should, but like, if he does not take a big step this year, like he's never going to. Like, he's got two of the best safeties in the league to learn under. And I feel like they'll be working him in, like some as like a kind of like a big nickel kind of thing, where you run three safeties.
sure.
But because
That only probably leaves like one or two linebackers on the field at the time, though.
here's a controversial take, probably.
Okay.
Grant, I'm not saying Grant's great. I'm not saying, but I feel like the hate that he gets is a little overblown. 'Cause, like, Grant's issue is not down in, down out issues. His issue is whenever there's a big play and that he gets picked on, he's usually not in position for that. But then you got like games like the Tampa Bay game, the away game, where he got the game sealing pick in that game.
Yeah.
So
I was also just thinking, like, surely anybody in the secondary can benefit from having, the pass rush that we now have. And that was one of the things that we did have in that game, right? Like, still having Onyemata and stuff wreck up the center of the pocket so that, Baker had to move around. And then we saw it, like, the next couple of weeks afterwards. So it's like, the quarterbacks, they couldn't stand still, but they also could stay upright. And that's a big problem, which is why I also just love the addition of not only like having Matthew Judon the talent, but Matthew Judon the brain and the mind to let all these other guys be more versatile. Because if we want someone like Rook to have all the tangible stuff, we need him to have the intangible stuff too.
right,
Just like being smart with his role, and letting him be able to play inside and outside.
And
he's got,
and Judon is one that he can play every down, any down, any type of package you can have him in, and it just frees up guys like Arnold Ebiketie, who's better. Like, if you could just get him in situational pass rush downs and let him just do that, he's a better player for you. You know,
he's already beaten enough solid tackles in the league right now as it is, like, without him.
Right.
Now he'll get more of those one-on-one matchups, because if you're leaving Grady in that D-line just like one-on-one, well then, like, none of this matters, right? Because, like, he's going to immediately end the play. So it's like you got to account for him. You always have. You always will. You have to make sure that Onyemata's the
David
next person
Onyemata,
taken care of.
he's clogging up the middle. Just, he can give you
Who's
pass
just
rush.
making sure that
but-
it's a 3-on-2 situation as far as like the O line, the D line.
Yeah, and whenever all three of those guys are on the same line, like, you can't double them. Like, who are you going to double? Whoever you don't
Especially when we
double.
have the idea to have like 6 D linemen. I've heard.
Yeah. Yeah, like if we send any pressure packages out of that.
Like, I like to call them the Sinister Six.
Yeah, and we've even got like a rotation with Graham, and has Goldman played much? I haven't.
He's definitely had his name be recognized in practice. I was listening to the I think it was the Final Whistle podcast with Will, Tori, and I believe Kari was her other name. She's new. I like her. Well, she'll get more comfortable later on in the season. But yeah, like they brought up Goldman along with Contavious Street.
Yeah. Oh yeah. We have so many people now. You kind of forget who all you have. Like Street was really good last year. In the absence of Jarrett, now he's. I think we traded for Street after Grady Jarrett's injury, correct?
I don't even think we had a trade. I think we just picked him up.
No, we traded.
It wasn't
for him.
Philly. Oh, from Philly?
I think either that or maybe Philly traded for him, and then we got. I don't know. Maybe we got him off of
waivers. Yeah,
possibly. I can't remember. But anyway,
either way,
I think it was
Terry, I'm glad you found him.
Yeah, I think that was after Grady Jarrett's injury though, so he's never played with Grady, like in season. So,
which is a shame.
Yeah, now not only do we have those guys, but we have guys behind them that you can keep rotating. Like we have a solid rotation now, so those guys aren't going to just it's not going to be like a Grady Jarrett situation in the past where like he's the only guy on our line and we just have to like have him down in, down out, taking on double teams. So he's not as effective as the game and the season progresses because he's getting freaking beat up. Now he can take plays off. He can, sit on the sidelines for a little bit, and then come in when it matters and just wreak havoc, So that's I mean that we have, and for all his faults, and maybe it's more Terry than it was Arthur, but they did bring in talent. We are a talented roster. We were a talented roster with Arthur here.
I mean, that was our whole problem, is that like he did the least with the most.
Yeah. So we didn't have a quarterback and we couldn't call play calls was the issue. But it's like, what came first, the chicken or the egg? Because if you don't have a quarterback, then your play calls have to kind of like cater to that.
I think we know the answer, and now that we've seen him in Pittsburgh.
Now that we have the Steelers, we at least know this.
I think the chicken and the egg were bad.
Arthur Smith, not the best evaluator of QB talent. Let's just call it what it is. Like, so you got Russell Wilson and Justin Simmons, and they both suck. Okay.
Fields.
Or Fields. Yeah, what did I say, Justin Simmons? Because we're talking about Simmons.
We got the better Justin in the free agency.
Yeah. Justin Fields, and you got Russell Wilson and Justin Fields, and they both suck. And to think, like, there's so many Falcons fans that were like beating down the door for us to sign Justin Fields. Like,
by the time the Ritter thing hit, I was like, just get anybody. Like, anybody's better than what we had. So do what you got to do. But the Kirk Cousins thing was a lot better of a move. Yeah, like that. And then I didn't even know Penix, like, because Penix was the guy I wanted before we signed Kirk. And then I was like, well, we got Kirk, so we're probably going to do that. Started looking at edges. And then they go and draft him. So, but
And then they still take care of the edge problem.
yeah, exactly. Like I have to give this offseason an A+ because we didn't miss anything. Like we didn't miss everything that we went into the offseason with an issue. They have addressed. You know, need some D line.
We
went and did that. Need an edge rusher. Went and did that. Got the quarterback sucks. Well, we got two of them now.
Our secondary shoddy. Oh,
yeah.
Until you see what we got.
Yeah. We've bolstered our freaking safety room to like crazy levels. Like, and we locked down our top corner because that was a big thing too. Is like, do we really want to go into this year with AJ on his last year, like in a contract year? Do we really want that?
It was kind of like looking at everything as far as like, oh well, what do we do with Lindstrom or what do we do with Brady and his contract and how long are we going to keep Matthews with his contract around? And then it was like, oh well now we have to pay AJ after we just kind of spent this money on Bates, and it's like, oh man, we're not going to be able to deal with it. But it's like, dude, we got everyone we wanted. Like as Terry would put it, we had our cake and ate it too.
Yeah, here's the thing that we got to realize with Terry right now is that if the organization and the coaching staff wants a guy, Terry's going to make it happen. Just point blank, he's going to close the deal. I mean, they wined and dined freaking Justin Simmons. It wasn't just getting the numbers worked out. Like, they had to recruit him to come here. And they pulled all the right levers. I mean, the fact that he went to the Saints and the Saints were like pushing real hard to get him, and then he came to us and he's like, I want to come here. Like, you know, and I'm sure probably his conversations with them probably helped aid them to pull the trigger in the Judon situation. Because he said that once the Judon trade went through, he called his agent and said, we're signing, like, get me signed. So my thinking is probably they were probably looking at both of them. They were probably working on both of them. But through their conversations, it was like, hey, if we get Judon, we've got Simmons. Like, so we'll trade. Or what were we offering before? A 4th round pick, a 5th round pick? We'll throw a third in there. Well, I know, but what I'm saying is, like, were they having those conversations about Judon? And it's like, okay, so you have a conversation with Simmons, and you know, obviously he's going to let his things, you know, his wants and everything be known, you know, whether directly or indirectly. And you know, they probably talked to him about, you know, potentially bringing Judon, and he probably gave him his input. But if Terry knew, like, hey, we get Judon, we've got Simmons too, he may have upped that trade from what it, you know, a later pick to a 3rd rounder or whatever to secure that,
solidify the deal. Yeah,
right. Which, I mean, you should do. But the corners don't really bother me. Like, to be honest, like, I think Clark Phillips is underrated.
So much.
Yeah, and Mike Hughes, like, people give him crap, but like,
Mike Hughes is only considered like low grade because he was taken in the first round and he was a first round bust. Like Mike Hughes is a good corner in the league. D. Alford, we still have D. Alford. Everyone forgets about him, but he's still on the team. Natron Brooks is coming up. And like I said, I think Clark Phillips is special. He's gonna, like, people are gonna see after this year, because Clark Phillips, the only thing on him is his size. If he was not 5'9" or whatever, 5'8", 5'9", he would have been a first round draft pick guaranteed. Stamp it. And we got him in the 4th round.
And even then, like, the height doesn't really like affect him because he can contest jump balls with Drake London.
Yeah, he can get up with the best of them, dude. I mean, we saw it with Brent Grimes. Like, yes, height is an asset. I'm not saying that it's not, but it's not the be all end all. There's multiple ways for corners to win, and he uses the tools he has. And it's like, if he gets the job done, if he keeps the receiver from catching the ball, does it really matter how he does it?
Yeah, I think it's like, they know that they have to play the ball instead of the receiver, because if you keep thinking of this as like a height matchup, then yeah, they're going to lose. But it's not the receiver; it's like where the ball is going to be placed.
Yeah, if
the receiver gets that pass.
He's a master at positioning himself, and he uses the sideline. He uses all the tricks to the trade to get himself in position. Like,
he's good with leverage. He's still good downfields, and those ones are where you're going to have the more time to get yourself in a good spot to either swat the ball down.
I'm honestly not worried about corner. Like, that was even going into the season, like into the off season. That wasn't really a big issue for me. I mean, there was a couple of corners I wanted in the draft, but that was because I wanted the players, not so much that I felt like it was a need that we had to address. Because if anyone knows me with drafting, I don't think that you draft for need, but need is like a tiebreaker. But that's a different topic for a different day. But
we haven't even mentioned the other signings like Hamilton and King, who is finding a different role for himself too. Like, after 2 years of inactivity.
Yeah, I mean, I think I mean, those guys, I'm not as high on, but when you're getting down to like the 5th, 6th cornerback, like, there's going to be a drop off. Like, obviously, if we have a ton of injuries,
going from AJ to Kevin King is not going to be like something that I'd want to happen. But
yeah,
if it has to come to that point, we're not signing guys off the street and hoping that something can be positive out of that, because that's what happened in 21.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, we could just be decimated with injuries in a certain position group, and that changes everything. But as of right now, going into the season, there's not that many like glaring holes on our roster. Because now you got Darnell Mooney, so he's wide receiver 2, but he's really like target 3, 4, or 5, depending on how you view things.
Tight ends and running backs.
Yeah. So, and then in the slot we got like Ray McLeod, and it did suck that we lost Rondell Moore. That sucked.
Yeah,
because I thought he was going to be a big contributor in this offense, but and you got Kirk Cousins, and people can give him crap all they want, but he distributes the ball and he makes the receivers better around him. It's not like
Minnesota always had good receivers, but it's not like they were just like a juggernaut with three receivers deep. They had KJ Osborne.
Who, like Kirk liked.
Yeah.
That was his unsung hero. That was like the one person that he wanted to have, shine after he left Minnesota. And
Yeah.
obviously he's like in a position with New England now, but
yeah, I think we may have one of the better D-line rotations in the NFL, and people are going to see that because Katie. I know like people feel like he's been kind of a disappointment, like he hasn't got the sack numbers or whatever, but if you see like his pressure, like he gets a lot of pressures though.
And that's
like
coming from like 200 pass rush snaps.
Yeah, he didn't. Right, and also like we didn't have edge guy. Like we had Calais Campbell, but Calais Campbell, as good as he was, he's older, slower, kind of rusher. Not taking anything away from him. He was great. He's great for us. And then you had Bud Dupree, like Judon is Bud Dupree on steroids. Like,
yeah, and I was surprised about like how good Bud was, especially like in the back half of the season when it looked like there wasn't anybody else that was even trying, and he was the one that was relentless at pursuing everybody. So, like, I'm glad that we were able to get someone else to be that next person. And sometimes, it may not be the next person that you drafted on the D line, but that role has now been filled because I trust Judon in my coverage, for example, more than I would Dupree at this point. And I would love to let like Dorless and Rook and eventually Braylon Trice to just have like that moment to just rush the passer with the rest of us. And then James Smith-Williams too, like he's good at setting the edge. We heard some really good things about him in practice recently too. So like there's guys here that maybe are not going to be like the big household names, but when you look at the grand picture, they're going to be the ones that make up the stars. They're going to make the stars of the team look even better.
Right.
Because everyone else is contributing, and there's not like a hole to pick.
You're moving guys that we relied on as like the be all end all that really weren't fit for those roles. Now you're moving those guys into a role player. So and as far as linebackers and coverage, I mean, what do you mean?
I want to see more from Troy. First.
Troy, he's definitely needs to take a step, but I'm not really worried about Landman.
He's still listed as a starter, and I really like that for him. Yeah, but like he got injured week 2 and didn't lose his job because of how good he can be. Yeah, I mean,
Troy's really just had bad luck, with injuries and stuff. It's not necessarily been his play. He's definitely like when he was a rookie, like he had some mental lapses and things like that. But last year he was just hurt. I'm not really worried about Landman or Ellis. I don't know if you are, but I
want to see more from Bertrand too, but I like what I've already saw, and everyone else did too. Enough for him to not play the third game. So I'm like, all right, well, that's kind of taken care of.
Yeah, and my questions with Bertrand is more like his. It's never been like his instincts. Like it's just is his game speed going to be enough in the league? You know what I mean? But sure. In the preseason, he's shown, hey, that could be the case. I know he's not going up against. It would have been nice to see him against Jacksonville.
With their starters.
Yeah, with their starters to kind of see, like, because you could get more of a gauge. But hey, I'm not going to question that because I think I think we're going to see the preseason kind of phased out over the next few years.
Oh, really?
Like, yeah, because you see how coaches are approaching it now. Like, coaches are just like not playing their guys, like at all. They're like, we'll just do these like joint practices and.
Well, it's
scrimmages.
weird because some of them don't, and then some of them do. Like, I don't know why you would need Kansas City to still have Mahomes and Kelsey in a preseason game.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, that doesn't make any sense to me at all. But I guess that's probably Andy Reid being kind of old school. Because, like,
Sure.
think about it. Like, the coaches that are doing that are more old school coaches, like Jaguars, Doug Peterson, Kansas City, Andy Reid.
And
You know,
But then again, maybe it's also like, oh, hey, these coaches talked about it before the game, and they're like, hey, I want to have your guys play my guys in this order or whatever. Like, maybe they
Mhm.
had that conversation before the game started.
yeah,
Like,
and
hey,
I
like,
think
I want to
Raheem
see
is
how
one of
my
those guys.
twos are against your ones.
Right, yeah, and I feel like that kind of matches like Raheem's mentality on things. Like he don't care if he gets his, he wants to see their best against his second best, so he can really see those guys like who he wants to see out of the guys that he's evaluating who can actually make it. You know, who is just performing well because they're going up against guys that are going to be out of the league, and who actually has the stuff. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
because, like, with Nathan Brooks, for instance, like, yeah, oh, you're doing great. You got freaking a bajillion tackles against the Ravens twos and threes. How do you do against starters? You know, and I feel like he answered that pretty well.
Now you could kind of see that, like that one touchdown to Evan Ingram. I'm like, yeah, that's. I'm sorry, but that's Evan Ingram right now. Like,
Yeah,
like some of those things, just like, yeah, I can't like knock you for that because that is like one of their best players, just doing something that makes him one of the best in that
Right.
position group. So, like,
Yeah,
he got boxed out, he got out physicaled, he kind of lost his leverage there,
Mhm.
and like, but also look at it this way,
You're
like,
always going to see the gap. You're gonna, but like now they have tape on
yeah,
on Brooks. Hey, what did he do against starters? What can he do? What can he not do? What is he doing well? Where are we gonna need to work at? Like they got a lot of information with those guys, even when they were getting their tails whipped.
and I like that, you know, especially when they're focusing on the secondary like that. Like,
Mm-hmm.
they could have just pulled him aside just like they did with Bertrand, but they kept him for that role to be like, all right, well, you know, I want to see you in different coverages, and I want to see you against these different things and kind of experiment with you because we like what you see, but we also want to know like what you can provide for us because that corner room is pretty, you know, pretty feisty in there right now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and what people have to think about is we're looking at preseason games as like the whole game, whereas they're taking this film and they're not just looking at each individual play, they're looking at each individual player and what they're doing on that play.
Right.
And how they're performing, good, bad, indifferent, and they're grading every player. So the more reps that you can have against guys that you're not going to see throughout the year as much against mainline starters is very valuable. And honestly, I think with Penix, it was a matter of they saw him run. They see him in practice every day. They see him running the offense. Obviously, he's probably showing them something where they're not worried about him being able to run the offense. You know, and it seemed like when he came in, like there was no, to me,
it didn't look like there was a lot of nerves with him as far as running the offense. Like he felt like in control.
Yeah, I would say like kind of the only knock on him is that he was probably too calm in some situations.
Right. Yeah.
Which I've also heard him, be the same way in Washington. So I'm like, that's just kind of who he is, and we just kind of have to adapt with him.
Yeah. So I mean, like, they see this guy in practice every day. They know it's like they know if he's got the plays down or not. Like, and he's got the whole year, and that they're going to be doing that.
Yeah.
And like I said, I think a big part of it was Heineke, man. Like they really wanted. They were like, we're gonna put Heineke out there for one to see if he can. This is it. This is his time to show out or shut up, kind of thing. And obviously, I don't think he showed out for sure. Maybe they see something different than I did, but
I think we all watched the same tape. Coach, how'd you think we handled the preseason? Like, how'd you think we handled our decision making as far as like pulling some guys and keeping some other guys in there for a while? Because I like it, but if you're evaluating talent, like, did you think that we did anything that maybe we shouldn't have, or do you think we did everything right? Because this is what's going to determine our readiness for the rest of the regular season. Because that's going to be like, if we're starting off rusty. I mean, we hear this every beginning of the season. It's like, oh, well, they should have played the starters more, and they should have did this, and it's like we're going to have all these different opinions about it. But from someone that's like evaluating and being a former coach yourself, like I want to be able to see, kind of pick your brain right now.
Yeah, well, and I think a lot of that stems from too, like that was the approach that Arthur Smith had, and basically people are looking at it as like anything Arthur Smith did was wrong, and I don't really buy into that, because you can be good at a lot of things as a coach and have shortcomings that ultimately cost you. Like, I don't think as a whole Arthur Smith is terrible. I think he's got some shortcomings that he hasn't addressed that continually will keep him from progressing until he addresses them. Like, his offense is too run heavy, and he doesn't know how to develop or evaluate quarterbacks. Like, he wants to get the high upside guy to develop, but the problem is he can't develop. So
yeah, and like
now to be fair to Arthur Smith, I'm not saying, but as far as the quarterback situation goes, he was kind of given a crap sandwich. Because Matt Ryan's he came in thinking Matt Ryan was going to be his quarterback. Still, I full well, but whenever they got in there, they looked at the contract and went, "Whoa, we have no room to move." And it wasn't Matt Ryan's fault. It's not his contract. The problem with Matt Ryan's contract is not Matt Ryan and not what we signed him originally for. The issue with Matt Ryan's contract is Thomas Dimitroff had this problem with signing bad players. And what he would do when he would sign bad players is he would cut them with a huge dead cap hit, and he'd go, "Hey, Matt, why don't we restructure your deal to roll in that bad cap?" And Matt Ryan would do it. So then by the time Arthur Smith came in and Terry came in, they're like, "Holy shit. We got a 37-year-old quarterback with a $50 million cap hit. What the hell?"
And that's what happened. And so then you get rid of Matt after 1 year. Well, that was what, the 2022 draft? So what quarterback do you want out of that draft? Kenny Pickett? Not with the team he got drafted.
No. It was Malik Willis or nobody.
Yeah. Malik Willis, is he still with the Titans? Who the fuck knows?
Barely.
Who knows where he's at? Who cares? Then you got Desmond Ridder. We know how that went. You got Sam Howell, not with the team he got drafted by. The only quarterback out of that draft that was good was Brock Purdy, which he was the last pick in the entire draft. And he was good. Hey, if we'd got Brock Purdy, might be. I don't know if we'd be. I think Brock Purdy got into the perfect situation for him, but he would definitely be better than Ridder. I'm not saying he would be that, but still, like Brock Purdy, that's the guy. That's it. 2023. I mean, the quarterbacks were gone. Like the quarterbacks that you would want were already gone by the time we picked. Anthony Richardson was already off the board. Bryce Young was already off the board. C.J. Stroud was already off the board. So he drafted Will Levis.
Yeah, I'm like that. That wasn't
Like,
happening.
yeah, to be fair to him, I'm not saying that's why Arthur Smith got fired. There's a lot of multitudes that he had his own shortcoming, for sure. But I'm just saying, just as far as the quarterback situation, I don't put all of that on him because there really wasn't that good options out there. I mean, Marcus Mariota was probably the best quarterback on the market for our offense at the time. And so, I mean, he probably made the same moves I would have made. Or similar. But, hey.
Yeah, D. Coleman, I mean, if we're going off of like the technicality, like the Madden ratings right now, he's technically an 85, and technically everyone else around him is a 99, essentially. But
right.
Yeah, I think like Kirk is dropping into a similar situation where it's like he doesn't need to be the 99 overall to save everybody. He just needs to be the 85 overall that is able to get the ball to the 99s.
Right, like people kill me. They're like, "Oh, Kirk Cousins only has one playoff win and all this stuff." It's like, yeah, how did that look for Matt Stafford before he went to the Rams?
Exactly. How'd that look for Matt Ryan before 2016?
Yeah. Like
we've proved this wrong even back in frickin' 98. Like, Chris Chandler was a career backup. And he went there.
Playoff wins.
Like, he had enough composure to do that.
Playoff wins are team achievements. Would Patrick Mahomes be less of a quarterback talent if he didn't win Super Bowls? No. He would be the same. He would be Patrick Mahomes regardless. Now, would he get the respect that he gets? Probably not.
Well,
but
take a look at like Josh Allen, for example.
Yeah.
I mean, like, people will consider like, oh, well, the Bills have a window as long as they have Josh Allen. And people want to try to say the same thing for Dak. And it's like, guys, those are people that actually have more playoff wins that I think have less of a chance to actually take it all the way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
like just wrap your head around that.
Yeah, so the thing with, Allen would be a lot better if he was safer with the ball. Like, the problem with Allen is, like, he's too much of the traditional gunslinger. See, Patrick Mahomes is a unicorn because you get the gunslinger mentality that he has, but he's also safe with the football. He doesn't turn
They
it over.
definitely had to adapt to the people that they had because, like we talked about, like there's not like a super strong number one wide receiver there anymore outside of the obvious receiver that would be Kelsey and stuff.
Right.
So it's like you're going to have to make do. Now, if that offense is going to be as explosive as it has been before when they had like Hill and everybody, I don't imagine that. But he himself will be the same kind of threat.
Yeah. And the thing is, it's like if Patrick Mahomes never wins another Super Bowl, he's still a talented quarterback. Even if he goes in and he loses every playoff game he ever plays in from now on. If he's still playing like Patrick Mahomes, he's still as good as Patrick Mahomes. But even when you have a quarterback like Patrick Mahomes, you still have to have a team that complements him. And it's not necessarily like people think like there's just this like written formula to have a Super Bowl team. There's many ways to build a Super Bowl team, but the players have to complement one another. Like Kirk Cousins complements our team better than a Justin Fields, or I think Justin Fields ain't really that good of a quarterback. But even if we had a guy like I lost him again. But anyways, it's kind of hard to keep the show going by myself. But even if we had a guy like Josh Allen, I don't think we would get as much benefit from a Josh Allen as we would a Kirk Cousins, because Kirk Cousins is a distributor. He's more like a point guard, whereas Josh Allen's more like a shooting guard who's just going to be like taking a bunch of shots. But hey, there might be a game where he's missing and he's still taking those shots, right? Whereas Kirk is always, even if he's not doing things himself, he's getting the ball to his playmakers to make plays. And I mean, maybe I'm wrong about the Josh Allen thing, but that's just how I feel about Josh Allen. Like, he's a really talented guy. Like, I'm not taking that away from him, but I'm with you. I don't think that, like, he has to have a certain type of team around him to win a Super Bowl, and I don't think the Bills have that.
I mean, it doesn't help to know that like they were getting rid of like half of their all pros because they couldn't afford them at a certain point, and that's that's the risk you run with trying to make sure that you have like players and names and they don't complement enough of each other. Like I know that Von Miller is like still technically over there, but like what is happening over there? I just don't trust them enough right now.
Yeah,
like not to think that they're going to be like a horrible team, but I'm like,
Von Miller's best days are way behind him at this point.
Yeah, so I'm like, the contract didn't stop him from figuring out that on his own, and then obviously he got injured last year. So it's like you're still having these question marks that surround your team, and nothing says it more than like the fact that you played Pittsburgh, and what was the final score? 93.
Yeah.
Like not saying that like, oh that's like the ultimate telltale sign, but the fact that you didn't have the depth to do much on offense, and you didn't have the depth to like significantly outscore or make these kind of plays on defense. I mean, yeah, you made Russell Wilson look bad with Greg Rousseau just like by himself. I'm like, cool, but you still have questions to address. And obviously, Bills can look at us and be like, well, you have the same problem too. But I'm like, we are trying to prove ourselves. You are trying to redeem yourselves after like the 6-year window that you did have.
Yeah.
And now you're still trying to think that it's there. And this is what happened to Seattle a couple years ago. It's like no, we're still doing it. We're still getting there. We're still gonna be guys. Like
it kind of happened to us. It kind of happened to us for a couple years.
Well, it happened a lot faster for us.
Yeah.
Whereas it still took Seattle a couple years for them to realize that.
With Terry to finally just go, we're blowing this up. Like, we're blowing it up, starting from scratch, rebuilding. Because we could be the Saints at this point. And just, what are the Saints doing? Like, come on, dude. Derek Carr is your franchise guy? Is that what they're rolling with?
I don't know how, but yeah, well, technically they're stuck in neutral right now.
Yeah. And so, I mean, I feel like, Terry, gets a lot of crap. Like, the stupid freaking thing, like he had to explain the Penix pick to Arthur Blank. Like, they had that clip of him talking to him and everything. Like, anybody that bought into that Arthur Blank, the owner of the team, didn't know we were going to pick Michael Penix before we picked Michael Penix, is what you would call retarded. Affectionately.
Yeah, Spencer Rattler, or as I like to call Diet Desmond Ritter.
Oh yeah, dude, Spencer Rattler, dude. No, yeah, I hope they start Spencer Rattler because he'd probably be a bit worse than Derek Carr. Imagine Spencer Rattler trying to throw with Jesse Bates and Simmons lurking. Good night.
They're gonna make him look worse than Ian Book.
Yeah. Yeah. No.
I wonder what happened to their other guy. Like, what was it, Jake Hayner or something like that?
Dude, I don't even know if the Saints know at this point who's on their roster because they just got to figure out. They're just like, I don't understand it. They are going to get to a point where they literally can't field the team.
Yeah, they have like maybe 20 people on the roster for next year.
Yeah, like they are.
And the guys that they do have are like in their mid to late 30s.
If they didn't have void years, like they would not be able to function as a franchise.
They weren't even making payments on their stadium. Like.
Like, when is the NFL going to step in and be like, "Hey guys, like, if this, like, guys, you got to do something." I know you're trying to do you did a good job at cap manipulation. All right, great job, but dude, it's time to pay the piper. Like, every team at some point has to blow it up. It should have been. We thought you were going to do it when Drew Brees retired. We thought it. We were like, okay, the Saints are doing this. I understand it. Drew Brees is on his last leg. They're trying to just put as much talent around him, and then they're going to blow it up. And then and then you signed Derek Carr, $200 million. Why? Why did you do that?
Lav, I if that's how you say it, I don't think Dion would allow that.
No.
Because that's not amongst the 6 teams that he agreed upon.
No. Unless they want to give... Here's the thing. Dion is not going to be the coach of Colorado after next year. He's going to be a coach of whoever Shedeur Sanders goes to play for. Not a head coach, necessarily. But if you look at Dion's track record, he's followed his son all the way through Pee Wee.
Like, it's been a while since we've had an Eli situation, but I think that he's going to pull that card.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, yeah, Shedeur is going to be a while. Like,
I crave for any franchise that gets him. Like, I'm not saying he's a bad quarterback because he's not, but God, the baggage that will come along with that. Mm-mm. Nope.
I don't even know what kind of like market would accept him out of the folks that he
Oh, there will be a
chose.
lot of
And-
teams that'll accept him, but
I mean, sure, but what do they got to do beyond that point? Because
is there
let's
any
say
team that has
you're
2 first-round draft picks and a coach on the hot seat coming into next year?
depends on what you think of Dallas.
I mean, Mike McCarthy's on the hot seat, and it doesn't seem
And
like.
I'm sure you can ship off Dak for a couple firsts.
Yeah, and
Because there's some
Dion
teams that need him.
Dion would definitely be like a Jerry Jones like surprise hire, but would he be a? I don't know if he would. Jerry Jones would do that because I don't think Dion would be a yes man to him. Like, I don't know. That would be interesting. That would be.
I don't know. That's assuming that Jerry even makes it that long. I don't know how that dude's still alive.
But well, he's
Bro's
got money.
living
He's
off
probably-
of every time someone says this is our year.
Yeah, he's probably had like 4 heart replacement or heart triple bypasses. And no telling what that guy's had done to stay alive. When you got money,
Yeah, and it's like he was the one that was supposed to be quote unquote going all in this offseason.
yeah. How'd that working? Who have they ended up signing? Seriously.
So, anyways, Daniel Jones.
I mean, seriously, like. Yeah, Daniel Jones, like that. Now that is a spot that you're not envious of. Like New York, it like. Why did they sign him to such a big deal? Like after one good year. Like people can gripe about the Kirk Cousins signing all they want, but it ain't Daniel Jones.
Jeez, I mean, D. Coleman. Yeah, careful around him and an elevator, along with the Chargers. They're just not good together.
Yeah. Herbert's another one that's a what do you think the Chargers are going to take a step with Jim Harbaugh as their coach?
I think in some ways they already have, but I also think in other ways because I have a best friend that's a Chargers fan, and we're going to start having more conversations about this because I do pay attention to their side too. Like they have things to like, but there's equal amounts of answers to questions. So, does Jim Harbaugh fill every single question year one? I don't think so. And even if he could, I don't know if it matters with the conference that they're in right now. Like they're easily in position to take second place, barring whatever happens to Bo Nix as far as like how good he can be right away. But even that, I think that they're the second most complete team in that division.
Yeah.
But that's not saying a ton.
Right.
Because
then you
that
still
doesn't
have
pair up
that
well with
conference
folks in
as
the
a whole.
AFC North or in the AFC East or even the teams that are coming up in the AFC South. Like, you have a lot of spots, and there's only 7 to be filled.
Right. Because like, there's 3 to 4 legitimate in the North. Right. Like there's, but depending
Cleveland
on
got there with Joe Flacco. Like,
Yeah. I mean,
Like they're a wild card team.
mm-hmm. Well, and you know, Mike Tomlin, no matter how bad Arthur Smith brings them down, they're probably going to be freaking 9-8. Freaking
I don't know, dude. This might be the year they go 7-10.
maybe. Yeah, if they go 7-10, they need to look directly at Arthur Smith and go, "You have a curse, my friend." If you're picking number 8 overall,
This is what you get when you last in Tennessee for as long as you did. Like you got some sort of Jeff Fisher problem attached to you now. Well, the only thing you could do is go 7-10.
Yeah. Jeff Fisher's was 8-8, but now we got more games, so. Oh man. But yeah, like, and then in the South, I mean, the AFC South's kind of interesting. I mean, obviously the Texans, like, I feel like they're gonna run that division for a while. But then
I also really like the idea of Richardson too.
Yeah, I think
Just
the
has
Colts.
more of a commanding role there.
Yeah, and if Callahan can be anything like he was with, you know, that offense can be anything similar to what he ran in Cincinnati. You know, I mean, Will Levis, I don't think he's a great quarterback, but like they could do something. You know, like talking about like a 7 seed of a wild card. Yeah, the Chargers are going to have some competition there. Because then you got the AFC East. Whereas if Rodgers is healthy, like, and playing like Rodgers, you got Jets, you got the Bills. We talked about them. Patriots are gonna suck bad. Don't worry about them. And then
I mean, yeah, that's still Miami's
the
division
Dolphins
right now.
yeah. Then the
So further
Dolphins.
notice.
So you got two bona fides in there. You got Miami and Buffalo, right? And then like the Jets if Aaron Rodgers is Aaron Rodgers. So there's, I mean, so yeah, like anywhere you go, then you got the AFC West and you got the Chiefs. That's it, and then the Chargers that we talked about. The AFC is just a tough division. Tough conference to break in, because the NFC is like, and it used to be the exact opposite, but
It seems more top heavy right now because you have San Francisco, which we've pretty much copied their blueprint, and we're hoping to make it better. You have Detroit, who's still looking really good right now.
they're looking good.
Like you'll have Dallas that will win games because that's the one thing they're known for. But as far as an actual threat, I don't really.
Yeah, you never look at Dallas as like, oh man, they're really gonna make a run in the playoffs, because they never do.
Yeah, so I'll throw them in there to say that I thought about them
I know that,
but I'm not thinking about them seriously because you got Philly.
And here's what I think's holding. I don't think it's Dak holding Dallas back. I think it's Mike McCarthy holding Dallas back, is what I think. And Jerry Jones. Jerry Jones has way too much control over that team. Like he needed to hire a GM a long time ago. Because you can't, like, imagine Arthur Blank trying to make football decisions about personnel. Like,
you're a great dude, but that's not your forte.
He's a great owner, but that you don't know. Like, and
you
Jerry
didn't train for that.
Like, Jerry thinks because he's a massive fan and he's been around the game for so long that he's like on the level of these GMs. No, look at Terry's rise. All right, he was freaking working the grounds, and he was working like as a freaking grunt worker for the New Orleans Saints for years and just slowly worked his way up the ranks to get into the position that he's at. Like, Jerry never had to go through that. Like, he never had to freaking sit and watch hours and hours of film on some random guy in Missouri that plays for Missouri State, or drive hours to see one player that the team ain't even gonna take a second look at, to watch him play a live game. Never had to do that. So you're not on their level because you haven't done the work that they had to do.
To kind of take all of that information in and to summarize it and then to make a decision on it, like, you need more people to help you with that decision-making process.
Yeah,
because you still have a lot of hats in there.
They have a scouting department, right? Jerry Jones is like, he's the be-all, end-all. Like, whoever he says to draft is who they ultimately draft. And whoever has
Except Kyle Pitts.
Yeah. So, like, they were going to draft Matthew Bergeron, and then they ended up drafting Mozzie Smith. So,
which, I mean, he's still fine too, but because him and Tyler, not a bad pairing.
But Bergeron would have been a better pick.
Well, we'll take care of that for him.
Yeah, I mean, I'm glad they didn't make him the pick, but I'm just saying, like, because I follow Voch Lombardi. He's a YouTuber, and he has Brian Broaddus on a lot. Brian Broaddus is a former scout that worked for the Dallas Cowboys for a while and the Green Bay Packers. And he talks about how, like, Jerry, like, whoever has Jerry's ear has the power, because, it doesn't matter what, if you're a scout and you have a guy that you really like and you bring all the evidence or whatever, if whoever has Jerry's ear doesn't like him, it don't happen. Kind of thing. So until Jerry goes away, and that'll be when he dies, and then you got his son who's basically the same thing. So I don't know if the Cowboys will ever get back to their heyday, but unless they just luck into it.
Yeah, unless another freaking Jimmy Johnson comes.
Yeah, Jimmy Johnson was good for Jerry because he would be like, "Hey, no, like, you're not going to tell me what to do. You hired me to coach the football team. I'm going to coach the football team. I'm going to tell you what players I want, and you're going to get them for me." That's how this range was going to work. And Jerry didn't like that because whenever they were winning the Super Bowls, it wasn't Jerry's team, it was Jimmy's team. So ever since then, he hadn't wanted to get it. Well, he got Bill Parcells for a while, but that was the closest thing. And probably one of the better Dallas Cowboys teams that have been around were under the Bill Parcells era, but I digress.
Anyways, anybody else that we want to?
Yeah, I think
we're just talking football.
Yeah, well, you know me, like, you get me on something. I know this isn't on the subject of a stream, but, like, when are you wanting to play that game on in the Dynasty?
Yeah, I was telling people about that earlier in the show. If anybody else has College Football 25, I think we still have some slots to fill out on PS5 and Xbox because that I don't know how, but it's been a whole freaking revolving door for certain
Yeah,
people.
it's sometimes it's hard to find people that'll be active, like because I'm gonna boot you quick if you don't play your games. So. But yeah.
Anyways, unless you want to
thoughts on
take care of
Bryce
it
Young?
after the stream.
Thoughts on Bryce Young? Okay, I'll answer that real quick. So Bryce Young is a good quarterback, but the Panthers are a shitty organization. So
And that trumps it.
Young is going to suffer because the Panthers are a shitty organization. That answers the question.
You can have the best person to try to build a house of cards, but if they're doing it during an earthquake, I'm sorry, but that's kind of it.
I do like that they hired Canales, but I mean they still got Pepper, so there's that.
I mean, I don't know, maybe they'll get there, but they'll do it in spite of us, if that would be the case. If anything, I'd have any thoughts on Tampa? Anything we've seen from them? We haven't really talked about them.
Do what? What did you say?
About Tampa.
Tampa's I think that will be decent, but they've lost a lot of guys, and I'm still not sold on Baker Mayfield. I think
I can't treat them I can't treat them the same team as they have been.
No.
Because
honestly, I think that they benefited from the NFC South being so bad. So bad. And then they got the Eagles in the playoff game, but the Eagles were on free fall for the last half of last year.
Yeah,
so really,
I think they won one game in the last 6 weeks.
Yeah, so really how big of a win was that everybody was beating the Eagles at that point. So, and then they got absolutely destroyed by, was it San Fran they went up against?
It was Detroit.
Detroit, yeah, they got freaking destroyed in that game. So, but yeah. So
they're not going to be the same threat against us. I can tell you that much because
no, I think
Desmond Ritter was dotting that defense up.
Yeah, it's our division to lose. There's no reason we should lose our division this year.
Yeah, but you had Ritter that was dotting them up for 400 yards and had all this stuff
other than injury.
And that was before they lost all the people.
Yeah. I say there's not a reason outside of massive amounts of injuries. I'm not talking about one or two injuries. We're not like that. I'm talking Kirk Cousins goes down and Penix goes down.
The entire offensive line goes down.
Yeah, or you would talk about the secondary, if Bates and Simmons goes down, and then we got freaking Richie Grant and whoever the hell. Okay, then maybe we're having a discussion. But outside of that, just on paper, and I think on the field when you see it, this team is the division. Us locking up the division, we should have that locked up by week 12 or 13.
I mean, dude, early on in the schedule, we have all of them in a row. We could get a 3-0 start on them and then walk in with the division lead by week 9.
Right. Yeah. There should be no question who's going to win the division, a majority of the way through.
After our bye week.
Yeah. Yeah. We should be running away with it at that point. Because I think, I mean, looking at our schedule, I think we're going to beat the Steelers.
Who's the next game after that?
Monday night and Philly.
In Philly. I think we're going to beat the Eagles. That's me. The Chiefs. It's at home.
Simmons absolutely gives us a chance. And once we show out, week 1 and week 2, like we have so much more momentum than I think Kansas City would be ready for early on.
It could definitely be.
We're,
I don't know if anyone remembers like 2012, whenever Peyton Manning came in.
Yeah.
And our defense just like.
I think we picked them off like 5 times.
Right. So it could be something like that where like nobody was giving us a shot to win that game. Like everyone was like the Broncos like, and we had a good team that year, but like everyone.
And those are the games that we needed to prove ourselves in order so we can have more primetime recognition and stuff, because that's something that Arthur Blank really wants. Like he's really glad that we had like 4 primetime games on the schedule. And like sometimes when we play certain opponents does matter, like because I'm really glad that we're facing Kansas City early on in the season rather than like later.
Kansas City kind of stumbles early, like that's kind of their time. Like you remember a few years ago they lost against the Titans early, and like bad, like it wasn't just like they lost to the Titans; they got freaking destroyed by the Titans. I think it was like by like 20-something points that they lost.
Yeah, so like I like the idea that once we all see what we can become by like week 3, and then after that, like I said, we have like the next like 30 divisional games.
I think they'll be
like they won't stand a chance.
I think we'll start out hot, and then I think in the middle of the season we're gonna have a little bit of a hiccup. Like I said, I have to look at the schedule, like to do a full like schedule prediction. Maybe that could be another stream.
I know, like in the middle of the season, we have Dallas, but that's at home too.
That's at home. We could probably lose to Dallas. I could see that. I know we just talked about, but Dallas wins those games.
Somehow, some way.
Right, they win those games, and then you play them in the playoffs, and they completely shit the bed. That's usually what happens with Dallas. But yeah, I can see like who else do we have in the middle of the year? Like, I think that we're gonna drop one to like one of our division rivals that we shouldn't lose. Probably the Saints, because that's usually who the hell we lose to.
I'd give it to Tampa Bay instead, because they're the ones that would be fighting the most. But of course, every team after that, at that point, is going to want to play spoiler.
See, it's like one of those things that I think it's going to be like one of those games where, like, we should win, but we don't. We for some reason we just shit the bed. And
it's really tough to go 16-0 or 17-0 at this point. Like,
yeah, no, I'm not saying like we're going to be a bad team. I think this team is actually like a 12-win team. Like
okay,
11.
Yeah, so becoming still in the middle, like Seattle, they can.
Yeah, like
they can prove themselves, and then like we were just talking about the Chargers. I think that is in LA.
Okay.
So,
yeah, those
we'll
are
see
games.
What happens there?
Like we're better than the Chargers, I think, talent wise, but like that's a game we could lose. And Dallas is always one that we don't really play that well against Dallas most of the time, to be honest. We end up fucking it up somehow a lot of times. So
I know one play that came to mind, but anyways, we're gonna have to wrap this up at some point because my phone it's fine, but it's running out of batteries real fast when I choose this method. So I am going to be more consistent with the timing of the schedule. for
you
like
can
our streams and stuff.
You can maybe stream our game tomorrow, like on here.
I was looking at trying to figure that out. I would love to.
I think with PlayStation you can just like tell it to broadcast and tell it what kind of platform you want to put it on.
Yeah, I did see that. I was looking at because I know that this is my cousin's console account profile that I'm using. So I think he's got the Twitch set up for what he does or for what he will do, and I'll have the YouTube side of it locked in for me, and I already have it signed in. I just want to test a few things out. So I did see that when I was like kind of looking at some things, so I can make an unlisted or a private video or a stream or something like that. Maybe that's how I would do it, so that things can go smoothly. Because one thing that I've noticed in the past couple of user games is that we just get desynced out of it for some reason.
Yeah.
And I don't want to keep having that problem, because then it doesn't make me want to trust streaming it. If like we're running into that problem and then, you know, it shows something that I don't want to see and either like get doxxed or whatever. Like I don't know what happens, but it's like I take those precautions.
Yeah, we could just unlist it and then you could like maybe
edit it.
Yeah. Yeah, and also you could maybe even with the unlisted, you could maybe post it on your community tab with YouTube and just say, hey, like, I'm unlisting this because I don't know how this is going to go, but
yeah, I mean, we'll definitely workshop it, because I've definitely said that before. I didn't want to say it with any of the other games, but if it's against you, then like, yeah, I can get your approval on it pretty quickly.
Yeah, like we could even like run a couple of like play friends like real quick just to see how.
I was doing that with J-Rock too on Wednesday. I don't know if he's still in the chat, but I did see him lurking. All it could be is that. I'm actually kind of thinking that we would probably prefer it that way. That way we don't mess up anything in the Dynasty thing, because I don't know what the heck is happening there. Prove it, number one pick in fantasy football. I would say if you had to choose a running back, because those get more top heavy than the wide receivers. I don't know, man.
And my connection.
Well, it wouldn't be CJ Stroud.
No, too. Like my connection is a little bit more stable, so maybe we could try it through mine, and then you could just like share my feed through your stuff, possibly.
Is there a way for both of us to do it?
Should be.
Well, then we'll try that way. That way, you know, whoever has a better connection throughout the game. So, if you guys want to see
before we play our Dynasty game,
sure,
hop in like a play now, so that way we can like kind of play around with it and kind of see what's going on. Then we can hop into the Dynasty and
absolutely.
Go from there.
So yeah, I mean, if you guys are still watching and you want to see that, like the result of that, I'm only going to put it on my personal channel. So if you guys are watching through the AFN channel, go ahead and find mine. It's like I said, it's literally just my name. You know the picture to see it, and just go from there. I'll either have it as a live or I will try to like submit it somehow as a video.
Right. Well, man, I'll talk to you later, man.
Yeah, you take care. Everyone else, I'm hoping that same time next week will work. I know I'm not working at least, so the schedule should be clear, barring any other emergencies. So I look forward to seeing you guys then. It won't always be a 3-hour stream, I promise you guys, because sometimes I won't have enough material to cover 3 hours unless we go off to constant tangents. And I don't like always having to do that, because I want to make sure that you guys are, you guys are getting the knowledge that you want to get out of a conversation and not just getting a bunch of stuff. So we're going to try to curate that. And until then, we'll see how everyone else does as far as like guest appearances and whatnot. And yeah, we're gonna make this enjoyable because I want to be here with you guys to enjoy the season. So thank you guys for tuning in, and catch you guys next time. I'm shooting for 4 o'clock my time. That would be 7 o'clock your time, and we will work towards that. All right. Thank you guys. See you next week.